I don't know. That's looking kind of... That's not looking very good. Oh, dang it. Welcome back to the Montana garage. As you can see, the paint booth is still active or down or here or in the way or whatever you want to call it. So if you watched the last video, you know I was trying to decide if I was going to redo the firewall or not. Well, maybe the paint booth is a clue. I am going to redo the firewall. I just cannot, I don't really like this little bit of filler that shows through. This is on top. Maybe, you know, there's actually going to be a body tag right here, and I thought I could put a sticker right there, and I could probably live with that. But you can see it in the front here too. And if there's no light shining on it, you don't even see it. And there's going to be a hood and whatever. Maybe you would never see it, but I have decided I'm going to redo it. The hassle with that is I have to sand everything. This stuff is a little different if you've never used SPI Epoxy, or maybe it's not different. I've never used a lot of other stuff, but I know usually if something sits for a couple days and then you're going to spray it, you want to sand it again. This SPI Epoxy, they say you have a 7-day recoat window. I kind of hemmed and hawed and I wanted to spray it. I kind of decided I was going to respray it, but I lost the opportunity in those 7 days because the weather didn't cooperate. I couldn't keep it warm enough. So now I'm beyond it. I'm at like 12 days. So the pain is, if it was just a big flat panel, it's no big deal to scuff it with some 180 and shoot it again. But you know, there's all this hand sanding, and so I've just been debating on whether I should do it or not. I was trying to find, like, why did this happen? You know, so I was reading SPI has, you know, when you order their product, they send you a tech sheet and all that stuff, and it's got some general instructions, but then they have obviously a website, and they have like user forums where you can ask questions. And so I was reading through all that stuff, trying to find out maybe why this stuff happened, and I found some interesting information. Now, it doesn't say this in their user manual or their tech sheet or whatever, their little book they send you when you order the product, but what I found out on the forums is if you're going to spray more epoxy on top of the epoxy, you actually have 14 days. That's not 14, I know, but you have 14 days if the car hasn't been out in the weather and left the paint booth and all that stuff. So I haven't, well, you know, it's not really a paint booth, but it hasn't left, it hasn't been outside. So that is, I thought, well, if that's correct, then it's going to be a lot easier. I don't have to resand everything. I can just shoot it. But I was a little leery, you know, are you going to take the advice? There's lots of people say lots of things in those forums. Now, it was kind of straight from the owner's mouth, so I was pretty confident about it, but they have a tech line too, so I thought, what the heck, I'm going to call the tech line. So my experience when I called the tech line was pretty cool. I mean, when you call a lot of tech lines, you get a computer that answers, press 1 to do this, or 3 to do that, or you get somebody in India that answers, and they don't hardly speak English. Well, I called the tech line, and a person answers the phone, SPI, this is Barry. Well, he's like the owner as far as I know. He's the main guy. He answers the phone to answer your questions. That's pretty cool, I think. I told him my situation. He's like, yep, you totally can just respray it. You got 14 days. And it's weird, you know, people will think that's crazy. This stuff's pretty shiny. You know, you don't think you want to just respray on top of that. But it's because it's epoxy, it's like a chemical. I don't know what my fingers are doing or what that means. But it's like a chemical bond. It's not like when you sand something and then you put more paint on it, the paint dries and bites into those sand scratches. That's like a mechanical bond. So they're saying it's the chemicals from the epoxy biting onto the other epoxy that I won't have any problems. He said, I can sand out. I have some imperfections, some stuff I'm not happy with. I got some fisheye stuff there. There's a run over there. So there's a couple spots that I want to fix. And he's like, yep, fix them, sand them out, and then just shoot it again. I don't have to sit here and scrub my fingers, draw in all these little nooks and crannies and crevices. And he says it'll be fine. It'll work. So that's what I'm going to do. While I was talking to Barry at SPI, I also learned probably why this happened, why we can see a little bit of the filler. And you can't really see it. It's not like it didn't cover it. It just, you know, it absorbs the paint or the primer different, and so it just dried a little different. Can't feel it. It's not like I can see through it and see the filler. It just dried different, you know. So their tech sheet is really good, but it can't cover every situation. So it doesn't really talk about, you know, spraying the epoxy on top of filler. It says you can, and it doesn't give you a lot of guidance. Now, if I would have had some more brains, maybe I would have called the tech line and asked them a couple questions before I did this, and then this would have never happened. So again, learn from me. If you're not sure, call somebody. So I was actually worried about this, about the epoxy not covering the filler, because I've sprayed Summit brand epoxy and it was fine stuff, but when you're done, you could see the filler even after a couple coats. It's not a huge deal, because then what do? Then you spray 2K on top of that to do your blocking. And this stuff is kind of the same situation. A lot of times normally you would spray something else on top of this, and then you would do blocking, and then, you know, then you would seal it, and you're never gonna see that. But in my situation, I'm leaving the SPI as the finished product. And that's fine, it's designed for that, and it's even designed to go over this filler, and if I would have known the right way to do it, I wouldn't have had this problem. So what I should have done in my situation is you spray this stuff, it says in their tech sheet or whatever, you know, a 30-minute flash time. It also says it's best to just wait as long as you can. And you have up to 7 days, or in this case, I could respray it up to 14 days when I'm putting more epoxy primer on top of it. So there's no rush. You don't have to worry about like missing your flash time and it not bonding. Like if it, you know, you're supposed to spray it in 30 minutes and you don't get there for an hour. It's not like, oh no, you screwed up. So if I would have sprayed the first coat and then let that dry for an hour or two, and that actually kind of, you know, dry a little bit, it would have like locked in that epoxy to where, or locked in that filler to where it couldn't absorb. It just absorbs the primer at a different rate, right, than the metal does. So if I would have let the first layer dry on top of there, then it would have locked it in, and it wouldn't have been able to do that, and then the next coat would have covered it just fine. So he says in this situation now, I spray this again, it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna see it. So I guess we're gonna find out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not just gonna spray it as it is, which I could do, but I have a couple things I'm not super stoked about. There's like a run on that guy. There's some really bad fisheyes or just texture right here. And they're maybe hard to see, but that happened down here too. Little imperfection right there. So I'm gonna hit those areas. Anything I don't like, there's a little something right there I don't like. So I'm gonna hit those things with some, and then I may actually, if you look down this, it's pretty good, but there's a little bit of waviness. So I may just try to kind of almost block this out to try to make this look a little better. I got 3 coats on here, so I may be able to block it, make it look a little straighter. But yeah, I'm just gonna sand, you know, block it with like some 180, then hit it with some 220 or something, blow it all off, hit it with some wax and grease remover, spray it again. So let's get to it. I'm going to start with this spot right here. There's some really bad orange peel looking stuff right there. There'll be inner fenders right here, so you're never going to see that. So I figure I'll start there in case it doesn't work for some reason. So I got 180 on here right now. We'll just try to get rid of some of that texture there. See the dull areas, that's obviously where I sanded. There wasn't that much imperfections, but you know, I just tried to kind of, you can see a little waviness in this top piece, and you're still going to see it's high obviously here with this metal showing through, but just thought maybe that would block out a little bit of it. And then there was just this little thing right here that I didn't like, and that's also some high metal just from when they folded that or whatever, so that's still going to be there. And then otherwise there was just a couple some garbage in here, and this was orange peely, and this was orange peely. Unfortunately, what I didn't want to do is sand through to the filler, so I have more filler showing right here. I think that might be filler too. So the theory was I'd sand this and mask it and spray it in one coat, and it would cover the stuff now. But I think what I'll do is I'll either do 2 coats, or I'll spray just the sanded stuff with one, let it sit for like an hour or 2 even maybe, so it locks in that filler like I said, and then we'll do the whole thing. I'm not sure if that's gonna cause a problem, if you're gonna be able to see that. If I should just do the whole thing twice, I don't know. We'll figure it out. And then over here on the trunk, I decided to sand just the edge at first, and that went pretty well. I thought I could get away with putting a tape line and leaving this, but I tried some wax and grease remover, and it doesn't take this tape looking. I don't even know if it shows up on here for you guys, but you can see where I ran tape across here. So I think I'm gonna scuff all those spots where you can see that. I'll wax and grease remove it in case there is any residue. I don't want to get any residue, get all the residue off. Then I'll scuff this, and I'll just have to mask off the inside parts now, which these will be easy. This will be kind of a bugger. Just throw some paper in here maybe. Anyways, we'll get this taken care of, and I think we'll spray one whole coat on this thing too. Beans I screwed it up the first time, might as well try to make it look a little nicer, right? Here's the trunk lid. I pretty much hit the whole thing with 220. Like I said at the beginning, I don't have to sand it, but a lot of it had those tape marks. You know, you could see the ghost marks or whatever where I had taped it. So that was on like 90% of it, so I just hit the rest of it. Now, beans I don't have to technically really worry about sanding it. I'm not gonna worry about every little spot. You know, normally I'd make sure I had no shine left. Like all these little spots like this, I'd hit with some Scotch-Brite or something, but I guess I don't have to, so I'm not gonna worry about it. We got most of her sanded and blown off. I have to move some stuff around. The heat blows mostly over into that corner. So I'm gonna move the car forward. I'm gonna put the trunk over there so it's getting some heat. And then the firewall isn't too bad because just with the booth being warm, then I can put some heat inside and I can heat the firewall from inside with a little, probably showed you in the other one, but got a little electric heater in here. I'll set that up here by the firewall and then we'll keep this plenty warm. So I gotta move some stuff around. I think I gotta go buy some more tape because, like I said, I used it all taping that whole thing off before. So now I'm just gonna try to mask off the bed liner. Obviously, hopefully the tape will stick to it good enough. So I'll do that stuff. I'm probably not gonna bore you guys with all the masking. Obviously I have to mask here again. You guys can watch that in the last video if you want to. And then we'll probably just come back when we're ready to squirt. All right, I think we'll go with some sort of setup like that for our paint booth action this time. Got enough room to do what I need to do here. And I think I got this, it's kind of close quarters, but I got enough room to probably mostly spray it. I found it seemed for me it worked better to spray it like this and then again from the other side. That way this is kind of in the heated zone. Let's go get some materials and get to masking. I am back from the store with a little bit more wider tape. That should help masking that stuff off, make it a little bit easier. I'm gonna get the heat rolling up there, throw the little heater in here, and let's see, a little under 60 degrees in here right now, so it's definitely gotta warm up. I'm gonna go outside of the paint booth over here and mix up the primer. That's got to sit for like a half hour. And then once I'm done with that, I'll do all the masking. Hopefully by then things will be warm enough. The primer will have sat long enough and we can start screwing it up some more. All right, I think we're all ready to spray. I got everything sanded, blown off, masked, wiped down with the wax and grease remover, and I've waited about a half hour since then. I think I'm gonna try to just hit the sanded areas with the coat here, and then we'll let that set for like an hour, and then we'll sneak back and do the truck. I may end up just doing this whole thing if I don't like how it looks. I don't really know the best way to do this, as usual. Yeah, I don't know, that's looking that's not looking very good. Ah, dang it. It's all freaking Fisheyes. What the crap? Ah! I don't know what the deal is. I started up there and it seemed like it was really fisheye, and I came back here to the trunk and I messed with my pattern and stuff. It all seemed fine to me. I came and I sprayed one of these edges and it seemed like it was fine. So I went ahead and sprayed the trunk, and it's not terrible, but it does have plenty of fisheye stuff again. Not as bad as that little thing up front was, but so then I was like, well, I don't know. So I went ahead and came up and I sprayed this little thing here that's going to be hidden, and it seemed all right. So I just went ahead and sprayed this whole thing again. And it's just really textured. It's probably going to be like I would have liked it better before, probably. See what it looks like when it dries, I guess. I got enough primer, I think, to do one more, so I was going to let it set for like an hour just so it locked in that little bit of filler that I showed you guys. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So I'm still waiting. I haven't sprayed this again yet. It's been an hour or so probably. I went ahead and did a second coat on the trunk, and it actually looks pretty good. Like I say, there's a little bit of fisheye stuff, but it's not as bad as I thought it seemed at first. So I'm waiting a little bit longer, and then I'm going to spray the firewall again. I should probably just stop because it's not, I don't think I'm going to like it, but I got primer mixed up, so I'm just going to put another layer on it, and that way if I'm not happy with it once it dries, I guess there's just another layer I can sand to try to smooth it out a little bit, and then we'll try it again. But I wasn't really happy with the trunk after the first coat either, and then after I sprayed it again, I think it seems fine, so maybe I'll be able to live with this. It's just, like I said, a little textured. Looks good from back here. It's black, but once you get up close or get the light on it, it's just orange peely Fisheye. So I don't know, I did a little research. I adjusted the fluid in my gun in a little bit. I read that orange peel, that's an adjustment you make to try to get rid of that. I don't know if this is a fluid or a gun setting or a contamination thing, but I just wiped this all down and then let it set like 30-40 minutes before I sprayed it. So if I'm screwing something up there or what's going on, but we'll let this set for a little bit longer and we'll get rid of our primer on it, give it a nice, kind of on the trunk, I did kind of a heavier wet coat. So I'll try that up here. And I know it's not gonna take away what's already there, but if I can just get it to where it's good enough and I'll be happy with it and be done messing with it. If not, I guess we'll keep messing with it. All right, ready to try again, I guess. We'll see what happens this time.
Go!
Well, definitely a little textured, so I'm not super stoked about it. We'll see how it looks when it dries, I guess. Sprayed the second coat. Looks better. Took some time to clean the gun real good, put a few things away. So it's been sitting for a few minutes. From back here, it looks great. Once you get up close, it's just orange peel. Like really bad orange peel. So I don't know, we'll see. Once it dries a little more and some of that sheen goes away, maybe it won't be so noticeable. I definitely can't see the filler that I was worried about there. Can't see it up there anymore. So, I don't know. Not stoked about the orange peel, but maybe it's gonna end up being good enough. We'll probably just let her set overnight. I'll keep the heat rolling, come out and keep checking on the temperature. It's supposed to get down into like 30s tonight. We're 80 degrees in here right now. The metal's plenty hot. So anyways, that's it for tonight. I'll probably mess around out here cleaning up my headers or doing something else. But that'll either be on another video or just my own special quiet time alone. But we'll come back tomorrow and take a peek at this. All right, we're back out in the Montana garage. Just got home from work. I painted the firewall yesterday, so it's been sitting in here drying all day. Got the heat rolling. Looks pretty good from back here. It's not perfect. Let's take a minute, get this masking paper off here. Then we'll take a closer look and see how we did. Again, it looks pretty decent from back here, and it's not bad. Am I glad I redid it? I guess so. I think it's a little better than it was before, but I just ended up with a ton of like orange peely, textury type stuff. And I don't know how good it's showing up on the camera there, but like over here, I didn't respray this. I just had this masked off. I don't know if we can get the light right, but I mean, the first spray was nice and smooth, and this spray is just pretty orange peely. But I don't know, I guess I'm not going for perfection. The thing that bothered me before was just how bad those areas of filler stood out. That's gone. Now, of course, in the same spot, I have the worst little fisheye stuff, or just orange peel, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's gonna be how it is. I'm not gonna redo it again and just keep making it worse. I guess if I was going for perfection, I'd probably sand it back off and try again, but I'm going for good enough, and I think it is better than it was the first time to a certain extent. So we're gonna be done messing with this stupid firewall, and we'll move on to something else. The trunk, I also redid the trunk lid just because it had all those tape lines, and then it had the overspray from the bed liner on the edges. So I sanded that stuff off. I think the trunk turned out pretty good. Again, there's a little bit of like texture on this little panel right here, but overall I really like the inside of the trunk lid. I like the way the bed liner kind of, you know, just makes it stand out a little bit there. It looks a little different, so happy with that. And again, we didn't redo anything here. This was done, so happy with this. Just not super stoked about how the firewall ended up, but that's enough for the firewall saga, and probably enough for this short video. We'll move on to something else, come back real soon, and hopefully we'll be putting this body on that frame that's over there that you can't see.